What's up, guys? Welcome to Nimble Minds Talks of Self and Spirituality, where we talk about different philosophical perspectives as well as spiritual practices. And before we get into the content of today's video, I do want to preface this and say that I'm most likely going to make maybe like one more video of me showing my face, because I'm gonna be honest with you, it's not that I have a problem with showing my face, and it's like, I don't, but I actually do prefer like the backgrounds and stuff, like those little images that I like add like some edits to, because I actually just like looking at that. And sometimes I actually rewatch my own videos. Say what you want, but I do rewatch my own videos, and when I do rewatch it, I would rather look at that than to just look at myself the entire time. I just prefer that. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the content of this video. I am going to preface this by saying, if you're a person who does not like to talk of like, the whole race thing and the black thing and things like that, go ahead and click off this video right now or stop listening, because we are going to get into some of those conversations today. And it's not that I'm going to be purposely trying to go at anyone or purposely trying to, cause anyone to get excited or aroused or any type of feeling, but just by the nature of these topics and conversations, it can be something that irritates people, as it has irritated me when I was, first learning about this, and even still now. So it's only natural. So if it will make you uncomfortable, I will suggest you just go ahead and click off and just stop listening right now. But with that being said, let's go ahead and get into the video. So what I'm going to be talking about is actually going to be pulled from this book that I'm reading, which is called Papers in African Psychology. Okay, so if you're interested at all, that is the book. But anyway, so let's go ahead and get into it. And the first thing is actually going to be the word Negro and the, I guess, in a sense, the etymology of that word, which is also going with necro, which in the context of this book, or in general, first we'll start with necro, which can mean dead, or, the afterlife or the undead, things like that. Here, it also talks about Negro and necro and the connection of how it means dead substance, okay? Like a dead substance. So it may not be literal, like, oh my God, this person is literally dead, but we're going to be talking about African people, black people, the people with that melanin in their skin, that me. So in the context, right, of that, we know the history, right? What's the history? Well, a big part of it is slavery. There is a lot of great history and, great things that are actually will put a smile on your face out there. But this is where, Negro and necro has come from, okay? Meaning dead substance. So through slavery and through things like that in history, the oppression of black people, African people, well, we know that there was an intent, there was a plan that was in motion, still is in motion. That's just the reality, but was in motion, still is in motion to subdue, you could say, to retain, you can say, and even maintain a system that's in place of melanated people. And that's just the reality. So that's where the dead substance comes from, with the Negro and the necro, and what that means, because it's not just the person is dead, but it's more than just, pulling up on somebody and, actually, getting rid of them. That's different, but it's a process that's actually very smart, where you have to get rid of the person's culture. You got to get rid of the person's, their identity. And then that will truly get rid of the person, right? Okay. And once you get rid of that person's identity, they don't know who they are. Then they become very easily influenced by other cultures. And that's what this book actually talks about, when, you have that dead substance, because you think they're, people are just out here like, oh, let's just, get rid of them because no. It's actually a system of, okay, if we can get rid of their culture, we can get rid of their identity, we can get rid of who they are, we can get rid of all these things, even their stars and things like that, then, and I'm not talking about the people on TV, then you can essentially come in and try to mind control that person. You can come in with your own culture, with your own beliefs that you probably stole, but your own culture and your own beliefs, and then you can try to enforce that on people. You can try to implant that on people, and it becomes actually very easy, because once you have the years, the decades, the centuries of not only physical slavery but mental slavery, them change. And one could argue that the mental slavery is even more powerful than the physical slavery, because you could have the physical slavery for only so long, and then rebellions, and then, you know, killings, and then maybe it's like, oh, we're doing that too much. But then the mental slavery, right? Once you have that, you don't even have to touch somebody, right? Because now it's just, you know, now they're just doing it themselves. Now they're just, you know, not trying to figure out who they are themselves. Now they're just not reading themselves. Now they're just going to watch all that corn on the cob themselves. Now they're just going to watch all that, you know, negativity themselves. Now they're just going to be out here starting drama themselves. Now they're just going to be out here arguing amongst themselves. Now they're just going to be out here doing all these things, right, by themselves. And then it'll be like a hamster wheel kind of thing, a cycle that continues because the person has not taken the time to, you know, maybe assess the situation and maybe look around and be like, okay, maybe it's not just these immediate people right here that are causing this. Maybe this is a symptom of a bigger sickness or a bigger illness or a bigger poison or, you know, some virus or something that's out there, literally and figuratively speaking. So that is a big thing to think about, okay? That I really want to touch on is just be aware, okay? Because that's another thing this book gets into when it's actually talking about the Negro or the Necro. And I'll even read a little bit of this because this is some great stuff here that I actually really like enjoy. So look, it says, the slavery trauma was obviously such a hyper-stimulating event if you were suddenly exposed to excessively loud music and flashing lights. The hyperstimulation would soon dull your sensitivities until you entered a trance-like state. Excessive pain has been shown to result in a coma or shock. Physiologically, psychologists have been able to show that hyperstimulation leads to hypnosis or a trance-like state. Such a trance-like state makes a person thoroughly suggestible to whatever kind of input happens to be present. The result is that the person is only able to react. The Negro, or aka Necro, right, the dead substance that they have, you know, been trying to create and have created, the Negro adopts the issues and behaviors fed to him by the world of his captors. Hypnotized by the trauma of slavery and the horrors of the neo-slavery experience, he is only able to react rather than being able to act in terms of his self-survival mechanisms. Okay, so look, what does that even mean? Okay, what does all this philosophical, you know, gibbosophical stuff even mean, right? Look, it's that simple. Once you have been put through so much trauma and you have been hyper-stimulated so much, it becomes a trance. You can put yourself into a trance-like state, okay, into a comatose, into a coma-like state, okay, which means that now you are more susceptible to the influence of the outside world because now you're locked in a box, which the box is you only being able to react to things and not to think about what is happening, okay, not to be proactive. Now you're reactive, okay. So instead of understanding, okay, prevention in probably every case, or at least most cases, better than a cure, you're gonna be like, you know, no, I'm just gonna go ahead out here and, you know, drink the rest of my life and smoke the rest of my life. And if that's what you want to do, I'm not the person, right, that's gonna be here and tell you that, you know, you're the worst person in the world. I'm just using it as an example. But and there's worse things than that, okay. Let me say this: you a murderer, bro, like, I'm gonna just be out here, or you're a liar, bro, I'm gonna just be out here lying for the rest of my life. I'm gonna just be out here, you know, stealing for the rest of my life. I'm gonna just be out here, even negative self-talk for the rest of your life. That's probably the worst thing. You're just gonna be out here negatively talking to yourself for the rest of your life, you know what I'm saying, instead of being proactive and being like, okay, hold on, I don't have to do that. And I'm talking as if like I'm the viewer or whoever's listening. Look, I don't have to do that, okay. I could start reading. I could, you know, start doing things that are actually gonna be positive, have a positive effect, okay, and help you maintain that PMA, that positive mental attitude, right? You're gonna actually do things now, you know, exercise if that's what you like to do, to create art if that's what you like to do, draw if that's what you like to do, okay? Because look, I ain't the best artist. I don't be drawing like that, but there's great artists out there. So if you like to draw, bro, do that. You know, if you're like a poet or something, you know, make some poems, you know, whatever it is that, you know, can help you be positive and create those positive, you know, actions, positive thoughts, which turn to the positive words, which leads to the positive actions, then that's what you should be doing, okay? But at least as it seems, we can be in a society and an environment that was created like this intentionally to have people not only hyperstimulated, but then very reactive, which allows for easy control. So I'll say that again. We're in an environment that was created that makes people hyperstimulated, which leads them to be reactive, which leads them to be easily controlled. So that's one of the things that I'm taking from this book. Like, one of the points is that, or lesson is that, okay, although, you know, whoever's watching, whoever's listening, yes. Are there tough times? Yes. Are there traumas? Yes. Okay. But now that we have this information, although it might not, you know, stick initially, it might not just, oh, you hear this thing and then something just clicks, because realistically, that's just not how it happens. Okay. For most people, it's not like they hear it once and like, oh, or maybe you do, then hey, amazing. But now that you know this, now start putting it into action. So start having those positive thoughts, start, you know, doing the things that feed your soul, feed your spirit, and most of all, you know, feed you, okay, and can help you do positive things, okay, because through you helping yourself, that will help others the most, okay, because you could be giving so much, and you could be giving to all these people, and I'm on like a little tangent now, not necessarily the book, but you could be giving so much to so many people, and you could be empty the whole time. That's just the fact of the matter. You could be giving so much to many people, and you could be empty the whole time. So what were you really giving? Your time? I don't know. But the thing is, okay, you need to, or at least it's good for you, to aim and focus a lot of those positive things toward yourself, okay? So you can understand that hyperstimulation, okay, and just the environment can lead you to be reactive. And you don't always want to be reactive, because that's how people control. That's the easiest way to control somebody, is to get them into a reactive state. So then you just do things to them, and then they're reacting to it, and not, you know, that's the easy way to control people. Or, you know, you become aware of that, and you're like, okay, instead of reacting, I'll just be proactive now and understand that X, Y, and Z is gonna happen. Okay, A, B, C is gonna happen. You know, C, D, and E is gonna happen. You know what I'm saying? And you just got to be prepared the best you can be for it, okay? Because truth be told, nobody's perfect, right? Things are going to happen that are out of your control. So focus on what you can control, okay? So let's keep going. Let's keep going. So that was one. The focus, okay, was the Negro, aka the Necro, the dead substance. That's focused on the Black, you know, the African people, which has been used to control us as a collective, you know, allow for easier control of the consciousness. So now let's continue. And now we're on resurrecting the African self, burying the Necro. So we just talked about how we have the Necro, how it was created, what it can mean, and what it can lead to, you know, the easy control. But instead of just, you know, talking about it, some people may say complaining about it, some people may say even having a victim mentality. And hold on, let me go on a little tangent real quick again. Victim mentality, there's a difference between talking about a timeline of things that have actually happened and a history of things that have happened and how they have affected a group of people, versus actually just being a victim and being like, you know, this happened to me, this happened to me, this happened to me, so look at me. There is a difference. So please, whoever's watching, was ever listening, understand that, because there was a time I didn't understand that, and I was just thinking, like, anytime you talk about anything bad in history or the timeline of the earth, that all of a sudden you're a victim. That is not what that means at all. You can tell the truth and not be a victim, okay? Let's get that out the way. So anyway, let's go ahead and get back into this book. So remember, we talked about the Negro, the Necro. Now burying the Necro. How do we, you know, combat this? How do we better adjust to this so we can actually begin to help ourselves and then help others as well? So let's talk about it. It says, in order to solve some of the problems and reestablish the sovereign personality of the Black person, it is critical to penetrate through the Negro barrier into the original man. This is done by resurrecting the real inner self, okay? Many Black activists have traditionally made the mistake of trying to eliminate the Negro facade by altering its outer appearance. They have dressed the Negro up in African clothing, given him a new haircut, and taught him a couple of African dances, and assumed that this would begin to alter the death process of the Negro, aka Negro. The adherents to this newly restored African orientation are exposed to certain external stimulations in an effort to resurrect their Africanness, okay? These well-meaning nationalists have been attempting to destroy the Negro from its strongest front, the external. What does that mean? Okay, look, hey, great question. Let's break it down. Why is it important? Great question. Let's break it down. So look, what can this mean? So when it comes to resurrecting, okay, or getting your life force back, your energy back, you know, from that Negro, that necro, that dead substance, we can see that in many instances. There have been people that have put great effort forth and have actually contributed. Yes, although this can be maybe not the place you should focus the most, it is an area that can help. So it says that many Black activists have focused on the external. What's that? The appearance of it, the phenotype of it, what it looks like, okay? So example, people have been so focused on whatever chains they got. And I'm not just talking about the gold chains. I'm talking about all types of chains. The chains that, you know, I'm wearing this, so that means I gotta be this, right? Or I'm wearing this type of shirt, so I gotta be this, right? Or I'm wearing these pants, so I gotta be this, right? Or I'm wearing these shoes, so I gotta be this, right? I got this hat on, so I gotta be this, right? I got this kind of facial hair, so I gotta be this, right? I got this type of hair, so I gotta be this, right? No. That's the answer to that, no. Because when you focus on the external, right, which is not always a bad thing, but when you focus on the external and just the appearance of things, you actually miss out on a lot of the internal things, which actually have the greatest effects on the external. It's not the other way around. It's not that the external, the way something looks, is going to have the greatest effect on the internal. It's actually the way that you feel on the inside is actually going to project itself on the outside. So, for example, right, when you focus on just the appearance of it, you actually miss the meaning of it. So that's why it does say the majority of the work should really be focused on the internal, okay? The way that the inside, the spirit, the soul is nurtured and cared for, because you could wear anything. I used to be wearing all the clothes, all the Jordans, you know, I used to be trying to get the Yeezys, you know, the Yeezys, like all I get it, bro, like the ordering from, you know, the DH gate. Look, I know about it. Like, I know about all that. And StockX, bro. What do you want to talk about, bro? With the Go app, like, I've been there already. Like, I'm ordering the shoe. Look, that's only going to get you so far, okay? Because you're missing the point at a certain extent, okay? It's about the internal work. So why is that important? Why is that important? We discussed that. So how do you do the internal work then? Because, and hey, I'm talking as if, right, I'm just like another person, right? Every time I start talking like this, imagine like I'm like a student or something that's like talking to a teacher and got a question, right? So look, okay. So it's like, I've been focused on the external this time. I've been buying all the clothes. I've been buying all the shoes. I've been buying the muse. I've been buying the chains. I've been buying all the stuff so I look good in the rain. Like, I've been doing all this stuff. So it's like, what do you mean this isn't the right thing to do? What do you mean that I've been missing the point? What do you mean it's about the internal work? I don't understand. It's like I think you're lying. I think you're lying. Hey, I get it. But look, hear me out. Just hear me out. You ain't got to believe me, but just hear me out. When you do the internal work, okay, it is things like what? The things that bring you joy. It's as simple as that. And on the topic of the melanin, the Black, the African people, we already know what those things are, okay? Me personally, I do believe that things may be, you know, forgotten, but that does not necessarily mean they can never be recovered or reclaimed, okay? You may forget where you put some, but sooner or later you eventually remember, hopefully, because sometimes I be forgetting stuff. Hey, but look, so music, that music is a big thing. And why do you think now in days there's so much music out there? Like, hey, another tangent, matter of fact, I'm gonna go ahead and close this book because we mostly got most of the points of the book that I wanted to talk about, and I will still expound upon them, but let me go on a little tangent real quick. I was on YouTube, right? I'm on YouTube pretty often. I was watching this video, and I grew up with SpongeBob. That's one of my favorite cartoons. Even now, I still watched it. I still watch it. Like earlier, I watched like the Rip Pants episode. That was great. You know what I'm saying? The blowing the bubbles episode. That was great. But then I'm over here looking. I'm like, okay, what's up with SpongeBob? So there's a new SpongeBob movie that apparently just came out or is coming out. If I don't know if it, I don't know if it's been released yet. I don't know if it's been released yet. But there's like an artist, okay, and the artist name is like Ice Spice. There's millions of people that know about this artist, and the thing is, right, she be throwing it in a circle. That's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that there's a problem with that, but the audience that is with SpongeBob probably should not be thinking about throwing it in a circle when they're watching SpongeBob. Like, what happened to F is for friends who do stuff together, U is for you. I guess that's gone, and that's okay, but I don't know where the direction is going with that, with, you know what I'm saying, throwing it in a circle for SpongeBob. I just seen it on YouTube though, so I don't know really what's going on with it, but from what I seen on YouTube, right, it looks like it's going in a direction to where it's trying to now have people focused on and the children focused on things that are probably not the most uh, positive for them and for their mental, because they're children. So I just had to say that right there, because I didn't understand what was going on with that. I'm like, bro, it's SpongeBob, bro. Like, what is going on here? But hey, who knows? Who knows? So back into the inner work. Music is very important, okay? And that's why I brought up Ice Spice even to begin with, is because of the music. Okay, so how I literally just compared it while I was talking. That one song I was going through from SpongeBob is from earlier seasons, and that was more of that's like a kid thing, right? That's like a kid thing. F is for friends who do stuff together. U is for you and me, right? That's more like a kid friendly thing. But then you get to the Ice Spice, right? That's not really kid friendly or child friendly, okay? When you have a person who's basically a Jezebel type of spirit, a Jezebel type of energy. I never met her, so I really don't know her, okay? I can tell you that I never met her, so I don't know who she actually is, but from what she's portraying, it is that's basically the type of energy it's giving off, and that's not good for the children. Maybe it's good for the children depending on who you are, but for me, that's not good for the children, okay? I don't agree with that. You know, maybe for the evil, bring up the D, the devil. I don't know what you can say whatever you want, bro. But maybe for them, that's what they want. But for me personally, that's not for the children, and you need to get that all somewhere else. Hey, I prefer for the fun song, the best day ever song, the Rip Pants song, the campfire song. You know what I'm saying? SpongeBob movie songs. But hey, that's just me. So look. Music is a very important aspect of melanin, of the black African, whatever you want to say, consciousness, okay? It just is. And that's why I even bring up SpongeBob and the Ice Spice when I went on that tangent, is because music is used to control, okay? Music used to patrol, like that's what it's used for. So you have to be cognizant, once you understand these things, of the type of music that you are listening to and the type of music that you are consuming, okay? I know everybody has the type of artists they grew up with. Everybody has the type of jams they like, the type of beats they like, and that's okay. But it gets to a point where you do need to be aware of what you are consuming and what you are feeding your soul, feeding your spirit, you know? Because it gets to a point where that stuff does have effect on you, okay? For example, if you're always listening to, that gang, like, you know what I'm saying, that type of music, I'm not trying to, if you want to listen to that, go ahead, okay? Hey, but just understand that it can have certain effects on you, okay? And not to say that you can never listen to that music anymore, okay? Because truth be told, once you have a understanding of certain things and you put in work, you can still indulge here and there, okay? You can still indulge here and there, you know, into some artists and music and still have a great time. But should you be doing that all the time? Maybe not. You just have a balance, okay? Have a type of a level of security in your indulgences, shall I say, okay? Whether that's drinking or that's smoking, whatever you do, just have a level of balance, a level of security in whatever you're doing, so it doesn't take over. That's the main thing. So music is very important. Dance is very important, okay, when it comes to these things, because at the end of the day, these things allow us to connect to the consciousness, to connect to the spirit, to connect to that realm, to connect and put on the helm, to do all these things. That's what it allows us to do. So that's why it's important, and that's why there's such a push towards these things and to have control over those things, okay? So even though I'm not a person, even if I was in the position that would try to take control of these things, because I don't see why I would, you know what I'm saying? It is good for you, whoever's watching. Hey, whoever is listening, it is good for you to at least try to take back control of the things you can control, okay? And music is one of them. Most people have a smartphone nowadays, so most people can easily add a song to their playlist, remove a song from their playlist, or you feel me? Scroll past a song on their playlist. Most people can do that. So that's one of the things you can't control, okay? Because, hey, once again, there's not everything you can control in the society, okay? Some things you don't have control over. And the first step in solving a problem is recognizing you having a problem, admitting that you have a problem, okay? So one of the problems may be you can't control everything. And that's okay. But that means that there are things that you can control, though. So you have to focus on those things. And music is one of the most important things. And guess what? You actually have some control over that. Yes, I'm pointing at you. Yeah, you see it. Yeah, I'm pointing at you. Music is one of those things. Another thing, dance. Dance is one of those things. You ain't got to throw that in a circle all the time. If you a female, like if you a woman, I mean, you probably, maybe there's people that like that, and that's like doing something for you, but you ain't got to throw it in a circle all the time. Sometimes, but not all the time. Sometimes you ain't got to throw it in a circle all the time, though. But look, those are just some of the things, okay, music. And then also educating yourself in whatever it is. And personally, I do believe, and this is just me, okay? Personally, I do believe, though, especially, and even if you're not, okay, because whoever's watching this video, whoever's listening, personally, I don't care if you're black, I don't care if you're white, I don't care, whatever you want to classify yourself as or whatever you are, I don't care if you're listening, because you can whoever's listening can take things from this video and apply it to themselves and become a better overall individual person for the collective, for the community. And that's actually what I want. But this is focused on the melanated people out there, you know, the black people out there, the African people out there. This is what that is focused on and who this is really for. So yes, you gotta those are the things you gotta focus on, okay? And educate yourself in these areas, especially if you are black, especially if you are African, especially if you got some melanin, okay? Because if you don't know yet, you are the gold in a lot of people's eyes, right? And you don't even know it. So you need to be careful, because they know that you don't know that they know you don't know. You know what I'm saying? So the sooner you find out, the better, pretty much, okay? The sooner you find out, the better, okay? The truth hurts, but it don't hurt too much after you've known it for a while and after you understand what's going on. Then it kind of, like everything else, it becomes learned, and then you're like, okay, I can kind of understand how to deal with this, all right? So educate yourself, whoever it is, in your culture, in who you are, okay? No matter who you are, educate yourself in your culture and who you are so you can understand where you come from, okay? Because we come from not warlike people, okay? You thought I was gonna say kings and queens? Nah, bro. We come from we come from that source. That's all I'm gonna say, bro. That energy that is just, it's a graceful energy. It's not a destructive energy. It's not, hey, I'm trying to take this from you energy. It's not, hey, I'm trying to, you know what I'm saying? It's none of that, bro. But it is a graceful energy, okay? And that's where we come from. So it's good to just know your history, know where you come from, okay? So you can understand exactly how you want to apply that for your life, so you can then make the decision on what you want to do, because that's the most important thing right there. People can talk to you all day. People can tell you everything you want to know, give you all the knowledge that they know. But at the end of the day, it's about how you personally apply it. Don't forget that, okay? Don't forget that it is still on you at the end of the day. You can know what you want, however you want, apply it however you want. And that is on you, okay? And I'm not going to have a problem with it, right? Like, no, I'm on a tangent here. But if I was like a person that, I don't know, knew how to make, I don't know, like some kind of portal or something. Like if I knew how to make, I'm just making stuff up, but if I knew how to make like a portal or something and I taught somebody else how to make a portal, I wouldn't be mad if they decided to make a portal that's like something craziness, because it's like I did teach them how to do it. So like if they decided to do that, that's on them, okay? But I mean, I probably wouldn't even do that if I got the feeling they were going. But that's my point though. So take this information and apply it however you can apply it. And yeah. So that's the video. I hope you guys took some from it that you guys, you know, can now use and apply in your life. Or maybe it just made you guys think a little bit more and a little bit longer. And now you guys are back to your regular routine and you don't even know I existed. And I am still okay with that. I will still be fine with that. Okay. But anyway, that's the video. Hope you enjoyed. Peace.